ReliaQuest mental performance coach Derin McMains interviews top performers across multiple industries to unpack their mindset and their strategies that has helped them dominate in their arena so you can dominate in yours. Welcome to No Show Dogs, powered by ReliaQuest. Hey, welcome back to the No Show Dogs podcast, powered by ReliaQuest. And leaders, we've got a great episode for you today. I'm joined by Nate Shaw, who has spent the last 20 years as the Arizona Diamondbacks strength and conditioning coordinator. And some of you leaders I know right now in the corporate space might be thinking, well, what can I learn from one of the best strength coaches in Major League Baseball? Well, if you think about the role, think about this for a moment. Think about the role a strength coach has. Their job is to lead and coach people through discomfort. Their job is to push people through challenges and help them embrace the current struggle they're experiencing to get to the growth that's waiting for them on the other side. Sound familiar? Leaders, that's what you do. Not only is it your job to create an environment where people will look forward to showing up, to choose to do their best work, but your job is to push people to new heights, new personal records, lead them to places that they couldn't get to on their own. That's what world-class leaders do. World-class leaders aren't just there to make sure expectations and deadlines are met or make fancy PowerPoints or just report up or report to the board. No, world-class leaders move beyond that and coach their people to push past their own limitations. And that's what Nate Shaw has done practically every day for the last 20 years at the highest level. And let me give you just one thing that stuck out to me from our conversation that's a takeaway for you right now before we jump into the conversation. Nate talked about how essential it is for the leader to read the room and effectively manage the energy of the room. He talked about some days when guys show up into the weight room, maybe earlier in the day, he'll have the lights off just to create a calmer space based on their travel or whatever it may be. And then there are other days and times, and maybe those are, as Nate described it, those are Metallica level energy days. As my friend Dr. Tim Elmore would say, leaders are thermostats, not thermometers. Leaders, you don't reflect the temperature of the team like a thermometer. You set the temperature like a thermostat. You see, pushing people to reach new heights isn't always about turning up the heat. It's about reading the room, knowing the individual, and understanding what they need to keep going. Some days helping people unlock new levels of performance means you take on a more supporting role, while other days helping them hit new PRs means you take on a more challenging position. But you'll never know if you need to lean into support or if you need to lean into challenge or promote a calm energy versus a Metallica level of energy if you don't know your people and what makes them tick. World-class leaders, they don't allow their people to remain the same. They help them unlock new levels of performance. And that means if you want to be a world-class leader, you've got to learn how to coach people through discomfort, through struggle, and through temporary pain to achieve a new possible. Nate Shaw has been learning how to do that better and better for the past 20 years. And we're excited to bring you that conversation today. Let's jump into it. Nate, my man, welcome to No Show Dogs.
Derin, a pleasure to be here, man. I've been hearing about this podcast for a while now. I know you're really good at what you do, and just absolutely delighted to get to hang with you on Friday morning. We got a big series weekend. Like, this great time to hang out and chit chat.
For sure, man. Well, hey, let's jump right into this, dude. Right, almost two decades in the saddle, in your role. You've seen some stuff. You've learned a lot along the way, how to coach and specifically how to lead others through challenges and struggles, which I know we're going to unpack a lot as we go through this. But before we get started, can you just give our listeners an idea of what your average day consists of as a major league strength coach during the season? Right now, we know the off season, whole different animal. So we're not going to talk about that, but let's just share with the folks like what your average day looks like when there's a home game and it starts at 6:40 p.m. What's it look like, man?
It looks like a groundhog is what it looks like. We do it a lot, that's for sure. I don't know, we get here to the ballpark probably. I like to be, here, just kind of maybe working out, maybe just on site is probably the best way to say it. Available if somebody needs me or whatever. But sometimes I'm working out. I get here around by 12 for sure. So, then we'll set the computers up, turn things on, turn the lights on, just kind of wake the place up a little bit. And then waves start coming in. Mostly it's a coaching wave that'll come in earlier. And, by about one or so, then the early players start coming in, and it ranges from players that are getting ready for that day, players that are prepping for a bullpen, players that are prepping for their start tomorrow, whatever. Most of those people that are starters and position players that want to get their stuff done early will get it done early. And then probably the next wave is people that are actually getting ready for batting practice or early hitting. They'll come in and they'll just a lot of warm ups. We the thing about the major leagues is there's so many different types of athletes and types of people and from everywhere. So everybody has a different routine. And what we try to really do is just maximize everybody's routine. So I guess it's all individual. And in general, it comes in waves, though. There's a batting practice timestamp, and it's usually at like 4 or something like that. So the relievers will throw at a certain time. So we just get everybody prepped up for that until batting practice. Then we have batting practice. We come in usually. I mean, I didn't bring up eating. We have amazing food here with the Diamondbacks. It's unbelievable. So we eat a nice lunch. Then right after batting practice, we'll come in and eat a pregame meal, or depending on what your playing status is, depending on what you need for fueling tactics and those types of things. We'll handle that for a little bit. Then there'll be some time before the game. That's usually we get in at about 5. Usually about an hour and a half before the game, and then there'll be another flurry of post batting practice workouts, and then pre-game prep workouts, more like CNS facilitation type stuff. Just get guys going, get their nervous system a little snappy, and then we get ready for the game. We go out to the line, we stretch, we run them around a little bit. Sometimes we do some resistance stuff. Sometimes we do some med ball work right there on the field, and then I don't know. It's like a last second NASCAR pit crew track. Anything that's tight the last second or whatever, we try to do a little soft tissue or muscle energy techniques, or sometimes we just slap a guy in the face and we're ready to go. And then the game starts, and there we have it.
That's a day, man. And then the game is roughly going to be 2.5, 3 hours, call it. And then is there anything post game that happens?
Yeah, again, it kind of varies. We'll have some position players that are locked in on working out afterwards. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then all the pitchers that come out of the game throughout the game, they'll come in and they'll work out as the game's coming out. So I usually watch the first couple innings, 3 innings, something like that. And then I for sure come in with the starter if I haven't left the dugout by then. And then we a lot of maintenance in season, but a lot of specific things in baseball, like the craft of being a major league strength and conditioning coordinator. I've learned a lot over the years, and it's a specific animal, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So your Groundhog Day, as you described it, begins roughly at noon up to game time, which is 6.5 hours later. 3-hour game. Now we're pushing 9:30. Then we got post-game workout, post-game recovery. You're thinking about recovering for the next day, the next Groundhog Day. And so you leave the ballpark what time average?
Oh man, they invented the shot clock, which was the pitch clock. That changed things, man. Most games are either 3 hours or under, which I think is fair.
Sure.
And so 9:40, 10:40. Usually in my truck by 11 or so, heading out,
Got it.
driving home. A little. I live about 30 minutes from here, so a little 30-minute defragment drive on the way home. Listen to a podcast or two.
Cool. There you go. And that's a perfect time to listen to the latest episode of No Show Dogs. Shameless plug. All right. So let's jump into this. So again, just wanted to give people context on what your day looks like, right? Now imagine this is 162 games over 180 days, roughly 11-hour days. So it's a grind. It's an incredible grind. And we're obviously here in September. So I just want to, first of all, just really thank you for creating some time and space for us today. So let's get into this though, man. Let's get into your coaching. And I've had the pleasure of getting to know you over the last 4.5 years now, almost 5 years. And one thing that I was really excited to unpack today with you is your ability to coach and connect with individuals in a space that often demands struggle, often demands discomfort. Guys can show up in there. Most people might not know this, but guys can show up in there because it's the one place that in the training room where media can't go. And so some guys go in there to get away from the media if they're really struggling and they need to decompress. And so there they are in your space that, you have the opportunity to speak into their life. But what I love most about you, man, is like your ability, again, like I said before, to just connect with individuals and coach them through hard things. And it's your heart, it's your perspective, it's the way you go about your business that I'm really excited for people to learn from you today. And as we get into that, though, I think what's really helpful for people to understand is just a little bit about your background, like your life experiences, like where you came from, and how does that shape how you coach and lead today?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And starting back at the beginning, I think if I said that I was like bred to do this, that probably wouldn't be accurate enough. It's when I was a kid, I was a typical kid growing up in New England area, Rhode Island. New Hampshire. We bounced back and forth. I think I had an amazing childhood. With the exception of probably, I don't know, maybe 17, 23 nights or something like that. Parents like to booze it up a little bit, had some domestic violence stuff that would occur. And, as a kid, like, I mean, I'm lucky. I'm more fortunate than a lot of people, where I was never the victim of the direct violence. I was a witness, or trying to break it up, or whatever. And, they would start to drink a little bit, and somebody would say something, the atmosphere would get a little charged, and if it would, I would try to intervene. I would try to, like, say something funny, maybe be the funny guy, maybe be the helpful guy, like, oh, hey, I need your help, can you help me with this downstairs, or ask a homework question. So there would be this situation that was brewing, and I would evaluate the situation, and then I would try to choose an intervention. And then I would do a test and retest, like, okay, that worked. Okay, look, there was no fight tonight. My mom didn't get beat up tonight. Like, nothing bad happened tonight. Oh, I was funny. All right, I'll try that play again next time. Next time I try that play, doesn't work. Okay, I come up with something else. So if you look at it, super fortunate to have made it through all of my childhood and all my life. And I have an amazing team that I work with, a bunch of unbelievable mentors. And I look back, and, the only thing that I would change would be the amount of pain that people suffered, like, just hurt. And I don't know that you can do that. And without sounding, I don't know, ungrateful or whatever, I appreciate the things that I went through, and they made me who I am today. So all that to say, like, I'm really good at evaluating things and judging things and looking at things, and picking interventions, and then seeing if they work. And I've literally been doing that strategy over and over and over again since I was 4. And I didn't realize that would actually be an unbelievable strategy. And, the thing about this, that I always, whenever my kid's not listening to me, and I tell them, like, look, by proxy, like, just by fact, I'm one of 30 on the planet, kid. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's actually worked out great for me. And I had no idea that skill set and a good work ethic would take me to where it's taken me. And I would turn out to be able to accomplish the things and be a part of the things that I've been a part of for as long as I have.
I think kids that grow up in that type of environment, they're few and far between that would say that they're appreciative or grateful for that. So
Yeah.
what work have you done on yourself to be able to be one of 30, man, and come out and be world class on the other side, and be able to not let that define you at all, but let it refine you, and be able to look at it in a way that, hey, I can't change that, but what I can do is evaluate how that impacted me, and what do I need to do to be successful in this environment. So I'm just curious, like, what has been the work you've done on yourself to get to this place?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think there's, I, somewhere along the line, I was just lucky. And I think that it was easy for me to see, because some people, their situations aren't easy. It's subtle. Maybe it's abuse, verbal abuse, or manipulation of some time, or shame of some type. And it's like, you don't pick up on it as much. Mine was obvious, man. It was like, man, when they drink, I'm not doing that. That's easy to see. That's black and white. Like, there's good, there's bad, there's dumb, there's smart, and I'm not doing any of that. Like, I was fortunate enough to get out of my childhood everything that I wanted to be, and everything I didn't want to be, which was really cool. So along the way, the first book I read, I don't know, I was walking through Barnes and Nobles or something. And it was like a self-help book. I was like, what is that? I don't even know. What does that mean? Do I need help? I don't know. Anyway, it was called Adult Children of Alcoholics, or something quite like that. And I started reading that book. I'm pouring through it, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I am not alone. Because you have this feeling that you're alone. You bring your buddy over to the house, whatever. You stopped off at McDonald's, you got 14 Big Macs, and you crush it. You're playing video games at the house, and mom and pop are knocking some brews back. And the next thing you know, there's a fight, there's slamming stuff, and you're like, man, I got my buddy in my room. We live in a trailer, so it's not soundproof, and it's embarrassing. So you just have this feeling that you're hiding something, or like that you're, like, not, I don't know, man, you just don't want to get found out. And I read a book, and I was like, well, there's other people out there. Like, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm not alone. I'm not, and then it started from there. And I had this football coach one time, and he was awesome. And he was like, man, you can do whatever you want to do. Coach Durden. And he just said, just go hustle. And that's kind of like what I did. I was like, man, all right, I'm just going to hustle and work hard. And I learned that in 10th grade. He's like, you want to play varsity football? I was like, yeah. And he's like, it's all you got to do, man. And I did it. And it changed that moment kind of changed my life. I've had a lot of good coaches along the way that have like, we used to have, when I was playing Little League football, we had this thing where, yeah, if you wanted to get somebody's position, you could just pick them. You could tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, man, I want your spot. And you guys had to duke it out and win. And it was like, man, I can achieve anything I want if I'm willing to work hard enough. And what I realized is that, man, I didn't know a lot about, in college, I learned a lot about anatomy and I learned a lot of cool things about product knowledge. But I also knew that, man, I don't know about life. Like, I don't know. And I like that coach. He's really cool. He does good things to me. And then there's this other coach that's different. So I guess I was kind of a fancier of people, and I just was like, man, I want to be the best person that I can be. And I don't even know where I got that. I just lucked out and got it from my environment. And so that work ethic helped me. The hustle helped me, and then ended up got a job. I interviewed with did an internship with the Blue Jays in 2001, and then ended up getting a job. I interviewed with the Rays 2003, and man, when I got there, they had this thing. They had Con Ed. I don't know what Con Ed was. I had gone to college and knew that I needed CEUs for my athletic training degree and my certified strength and conditioning specialist registration. Like I need all those things. So I kind of got indoctrinated into learning all the time. And then I realized that, wow, man, there's a whole nother world of like soft skills, they called it. And I was like, well, I need to learn those because I got the bull in the china shop to lead by example. I got that part down pat. Like, you want to come with me? I'll break the wall down. You come with me. Come on, let's go. And it worked. It was great. But I repelled a lot of people too, because, passion and energy is good. And the other side of passion and energy is like stubbornness and no feel. So, you have to be able to like, look at both sides of the spectrum. And I think that I got in here when Ken and I came over with the Diamondbacks. Ken left first, and then I was fortunate enough to be able to come over in December, late December, early January. And man, we created a budget for continuing education. And gosh, every offseason has been something. And, we've done a lot of really, really cool stuff in the soft skills work with, we had a guy named Peter Crone that was magnificent. He was one of our mental skills coaches for a while, great friend of mine now. And, he kind of turned me on to some of the way you think is pretty important. And then, I went to Landmark and I went through their curriculum, which is unbelievable. And then there's another guy named Devin Banison, who does Game Changer. And like, you just start going to these places and you start seeking out books and like just stuff that makes you better. And, I think some of it is I just didn't want to let down that's funny. This must be the truth because it gave me a wave of emotion right there. Like, I didn't want to let down the people that rolled the dice on me. You know what I mean? And that's what drove me like to be better. Like I want to be better, and I don't want to let down Ken. I don't want to let down my teammates. Like I don't want to be oh God, that guy again. I want it to be like, man, that dude, he's a savage. I want him on my squad, and we'll roll. We'll be foxhole guys for the rest of our lives. Like, that's the impact that I wanted to have on people. And so I think my self evolution was shaped by the great people that I was around, and I think they liked me because I worked hard. Maybe crack some jokes every once in a while, and they could tell that I was honest and loyal. In that movie, The Town, like, I'd be the guy that says, "Whose car are we taking?" You know what I mean? Like, that's I'm that guy. Like, I want to be that guy for the people I love, and I think that's what's driven me and helped me. It's weird when I say I'm successful. I'm part of an awesome team, and I know that my role is very impactful, and I do a lot of cool things. But I get to do a lot of cool things because of the people that I'm around. If that makes any sense.
Thank you for just your authenticity. That's what I love about you, man. Thank you for just being vulnerable and sharing that story. No Show Dogs is brought to you by ReliaQuest, the global leader in AI cybersecurity. ReliaQuest helps enterprise cybersecurity teams contain threats in minutes with its agentic AI security operations platform, Gray Matter. ReliaQuest makes security possible for the most trusted enterprise brands in the world. Learn more at ReliaQuest.com. You mentioned a lot about soft skills. I mean, soft skills are the hardest ones to develop, right? And it takes time, it takes intentionality, it takes curiosity, it takes feedback, getting it from others. And I love what you said too around the other side of passion and energy is stubborn and no feel. And it highlights something we talk about all the time on here, where undisciplined strengths become weaknesses. And so it is that thing of understanding, what makes me great, passion and energy. Too much though makes me stubborn and have no feel and potentially repel some people, which is incredible awareness, man. But in that idea around soft skills and coaching individuals, and this is where we want to get to today, is when a professional athlete, specifically a Major League Baseball player, shows up in your space, in your arena, and you got to coach them through hard. You got to coach them through discomfort. Leaders are doing that in every arena, every industry across the world, right? Especially with the speed of change now. It's incredible how many times a lot of us are going to run up against things that we're uncomfortable because there's so much uncertainty around it, and it makes us really uncomfortable because we don't know what it looks like on the other side. And so you have made a career out of coaching people through discomfort, coaching them through the challenge and helping them to see better on the other side. And that's why I think leaders are going to learn a ton from you, man. So let's just start with like, how do you balance pushing an athlete through hard training versus recognizing potentially when to pull back and protect them?
Yeah, that's $1 million question right there. I think that's what great coaches can do, and good coaches hopefully are aspiring to do. I don't know, when you were kind of lining that out there, I thought that, was it the flying Walindas back in the day when they're walking across the Grand Canyon holding the all the way
Yeah.
across, like it's a balancing act, man. And I think that the most important part in all that is there's this one quote that's been used a million times. It's like, it's simple stuff, man. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Like, nobody does. And I think you have to build relationships. And I know that sounds, I don't know, soft or weak or whatever, but you have to, they have to trust me, and they have to, cause I'm just like, there's nothing mandatory. Like, it's cool. You're supposed to work out, but there's nothing mandatory. We have a $200 million payroll. They don't have to listen to me. The reason they listen to me is because they trust me. The reason they listen to me is because I've had conversations with them along the way. And, there's this thing out there called crucial conversations or tough conversations, and Buzz Williams over at Texas Tech, or
Maryland
Texas
now.
Tech.
He's
What,
Maryland.
Maryland?
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
see, I don't
joined.
know basketball. You tell by my jumper, I don't know basketball. I'm sorry. But he was like, we were talking on a Zoom one time. It was this intimate call. It was me, him, Tori, our Zach. You might have even been on there. And he was just laying it out. And he was like, man, you have to have these. There are no tough conversations because you have them all the time. Like, you fertilize and you nip it when it's small, and you're constantly holding them accountable. And so what I try to do is be the same person. I try to be acknowledging. I try to look for the good, and then I try to have a good time and point out the things that they're doing good when it's going good, and then point out the things that weren't so bad when it starts to trend a little bit bad. And then if just being the same person every day and building a relationship with them is key. And baseball, I bring the juice, man, every day. Like, it's I'm lucky that I'm wired for this, and I also like caffeine. I have to bring the energy. This room, our room isn't the recovery room. Our room is the rev up room. Over the years, you just kind of get a pulse on it. You can see how everybody's moving. When the guys come in here initially, sometimes I have the lights off, like the lights are off right now. And we call it the Starbucks 20. Guys will come in, they'll lay around, they'll do some foam rolling, but they're still sipping tea. We're still doing crumpets. Like, it's still just kind of getting into the day. And then after a little while, man, we'll probably turn some music on and turn the lights on and, kind of ease into the day to get it revving, right? But some days you have to know that, like, man, I can tell by everybody that, today we need Metallica, and today we need the big dog. So I think you have to develop a relationship with each person, and you have to be able to read them on a daily basis. Maybe they had a fight with their wife. Maybe there's something happened to their son. Maybe their kid's in the hospital. Like, you just don't know. And it comes down to, how do you serve that person that day? I feel like if you come from that space of service and you have work ethic and you have connection, then in general, you're more successful than you're not. And the balancing act is, the odds are more in your favor. And it's sometimes, man, people are people, and sometimes it's still combustible. Sometimes it's still nitroglycerin, and sometimes stuff still explodes. And if you are honest and you are authentic and you say something stupid or you cross a line, you can always go back and clean it up because they know you care and you want what's best for them. And so I think for me, it's the space that you come from and the person that you are and who you're being that they buy into. And that's kind of how you coach different levels on different days. And, and it's complex too. And I miss, it's not like I'm unbelievably awesome or whatever.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that, but I would disagree with that last piece. But you mentioned, the $200 million payroll, and our listeners might not know this, but yeah, a major league player does not have to work out, right? They're going to sign a quote, whatever it is, 5-year, $50 million contract, we'll just call it. And that's guaranteed. That's guaranteed. You, by the way, are not on, and no support staff that I know of are on more than generally 1 to, I've heard a couple times a 3-year contract, but it's so rare. It's mostly 1 to 2-year contracts and making pennies on their dollar, right? And so the ability to be able to coach, lead, serve someone that is signed for longer than you, making exponentially more than you, yet you have to get their best out of them. You got to squeeze the orange, man. You got to get all the juice out of them. That is such an interesting relationship, right? It's so interesting that it's probably one of the most fascinating things that I love about the major leagues, and that this is guaranteed money. They don't have to listen to you, but how can I love, serve, care for them in a way but I'm authentic about it too. But it's like, they know I have their best interest at mind, and I just want to help them just get a little better. Right. And so I think that's such an interesting thing. Can you motivate an unmotivated athlete? Do you think, like, do you ever like trade for a guy, sign a guy, whatever it is? And the reason they're generally traded, or generally traded. And again, this is a blanket statement. This is not for everybody, but somebody trades somebody because they don't want them anymore. Right now, there's generally skeletons in the closet in professional sports that we don't know about until they show up in our clubhouse, and we're like, oh, right. So we're like, oh shoot. And so, but do you think it's possible to motivate an unmotivated athlete? What do you think?
Man, that's tough. That's a really good question, and I think it's, for me, it's like semantics. I don't really like the word motivation. I like to live in the world of inspiration and trying to transform people's lives. So if somebody's dead set against it, man, they're what we call grown ass men. They're going to do whatever they want to do, and what I like to try to think is that I can change the way that they think, and I can enlighten them in such a way that, hey, why do you play the game? Do you play for your family? Like, find out what makes them fire up, like what lights their fire. And I think if you are diligent and you continue to do that, and you continue to give effort, and you continue, like, it's like the pack of dogs, man. I'm going to wear you down. Like, I'm going to wear you down. There's been a couple dudes in my career that I haven't been able to wear down. And they don't, like, kind of to your point, they're people that come and go, and they have some upside. And then, if they had more upside, they would make more money, and they would stay longer and play longer. And some people are okay with that, not doing that. And as someone that grew up in a trailer park, or a trailer, an actual trailer, it's preposterous to me. Like, I would work and try to squeeze every ounce out of everything that I could. And there are people that aren't like that. The people that are the most talented, the people, that things that are really easy for them, they don't see it that way. So there's a space that you have to have for them. And I have a commitment to fitness, and I actually believe the things that I believe in, that, hey, man, like, I can help you be better. I can help you be longer. What if you just want to throw your kid in the pool? I can help you do that longer. If you want to get better at golf, I can help you get better at golf. And by the way, you'll get better at baseball too. Like, it's finding what lights each person up, and then trying to shine a little bit of light on that. And to be truthful, it's not always going to work. But I feel like it's my job and my passion to try and find that thing. And sometimes it's just being a buddy. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's the pep guy, the pump the tires up guy. Sometimes it's to pull a guy off the side. Sometimes it's go ask the manager for help. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to use all your resources, and at the end of the day, man, you do the best you can, and I'm okay with that. And the fact that I have a 1-year contract, like, I'm okay with that, because I'm going to do the best job that I can, and I'm going to keep coming back. And you might punch me in the face, and I'm going to keep coming back, because the thing I'm not good at is quitting. And it's like, man, we're just going to keep trying. And there's a time and a place, and there's a feel for it. And, you get a handle on it after a while. But, man, if I had to answer that question, gun to my head, can you motivate an unmotivated player? I probably would have to say, if he's dead set on not being motivated, then no. But
Yeah.
I'd say 98% of the times, man, I can move the needle. And I think that's what's important. If you can move the needle a couple times a week, man, you're in a pretty good spot by the end of the year. We have 50, anywhere 50 to 55 series a year. So, you know what I mean? If I can get a guy to work out a couple times a series, or get a really good warm up in, or there's different levels of things. Like, to do it the way that you could possibly do it and be perfect, it's Corbin Carroll. Like, that guy doesn't miss a thing. He's awesome. Guy even wear the same shirt he wears because he's awesome. And there are other guys that getting them in to warm up once a series could be a win.
Yeah.
So does that answer the question, Derin?
It does, man. It does. And the reason why I ask is because I think every leader runs up against this. I think every leader runs up against, you see a really talented individual, you bring them into your organization, on your team, and you see that maybe the effort's not there, but the talent is. And so you take a risk. And just in my career too, now in both sports and business, I just haven't seen it play out great. Very few times does the person that lacks hustle, as you talked about earlier, and lacks work ethic and effort, show up in a new environment and new people, and all of a sudden they become the hardest worker.
The caveat that I would like to say, and this is the difference maker, because in the business world, like, you got to get good people, and you got to get people off. If they're not good, I'm mandatory though. I have to deal with the people. They're under a contract, and I have to herd the cattle, because there are cattle. Like, I have to deal and understand and get the best out of that person. And then I've read a bunch of books, and over the years, one of the things that's super important, that one of the parts of my job that's amazing, is that we've been doing this for 20 years, so we've been hiring and developing people for a long time. And there's some people that don't need anything. The elite ones, you want those, but they're not everywhere. They're, I don't know, maybe 5 out of 100, something like that, like really elite, right? Then there's there's a chunk in the middle that you can actually influence, and then there's a chunk at the end that you just can't. And so the sooner you identify, and your systems can identify the dead weight, jettison it, get it out. And it's not as simple as that, and it's as simple as that. What I mean? I know it's not it's not easy to do, but it's simple. And there's a book, I can't remember who wrote it, but Everyone Matters. And what I try to do when it comes to developing people and athletes is, I want to make sure that I've told them everything I can tell them to help them. And that means I've held them accountable. I've told them the truth. I've been on them. I've not been on them. I've come this way. I've done uppercuts. I've done 2x4s. I've done tickles. You know what I mean? Like, I've just tried everything. So that way, when I have to look in that person's face when they leave because they didn't meet the standard, I know that I can sleep at night because I did the best job that I could to try to help them. And I'm just not the person that can help them. And that gives me peace. Like, I would rather work my ass off and know that dude just didn't get it. And we tried, like, I got to be able to say that. It can't be like, I can't just be the guy that identifies the problem. Oh, that guy, you know what? He doesn't do this, and this, and not have a solution for it. Because everybody, that's complaining. That's literally complaining. And everybody can do that. The great coaches, the great colleagues, the great teammates, they come up with solutions and workarounds to get the most out of people. And sometimes it's still not enough, because there's a standard, and we can help you get a job somewhere else. And I think that's fair. It's not, hey, you're out of here, beat it. It's, hey, man, look, we've had this conversation 72 times, 42 different ways, and it's time for us to help you get a job somewhere else.
That's great. What systems would you say you have in place, or what's one strategy, one thing that the Arizona Diamondbacks performance team does that helps highlight those that are dead weight, right? Because I think that's what people are looking for. It's like how do you create systems or things in place where it's a pretty big spotlight on, like, that person's missing the standard. Can you share one of those?
Oh man, it's I feel bad that I didn't bring this up earlier. If there was one gift that has been given to me, it's peer evaluations, man. When we first came over here, Ken and I came over, and we hired a Brett McCabe, and we were the first people on the scene, and we're like taking it all in. And so we tried to figure out who was going to be good, who was going to be bad. What do we do? Like, we got probably 24 people total, or 20, just call it 20 people. And we were like, okay, well, let's come up with some type of system to rank / evaluate so we can help people grow. And it ultimately, it was a ranking system initially, and then we went away from that. It was an anonymous ranking system, and it was it was a little clunky, and it didn't work all that well. But what we ended up settling on was just a simple concept of just peer evaluations. And so, say there's 20 employees, Nate Shaw will fill out a document, and it'll have Rick and Ken and Alfonso, and it'll have everybody down there, and there'll be strengths, comments, and weaknesses. And I just give my best helpful, constructive thoughts to Alfonso, Rick, Scotty, Joe, all the way down, right? So now I've filled out my document with my thoughts on those 20 people or 19 people, and I'm the 20th, right? And we used to cut and paste, and everybody would do that, and we would cut and paste it, and it would take forever. But now we got this new guy that is awesome. I know P-Cell. He's amazing, and he's totally streamlined it. So we just type it in a computer, boom, I get a document that has Nate Shaw. It's my document, and has every teammate's strengths and weaknesses about me, and it's anonymous. So at first, for me, remember I told you the strengths and the weaknesses, and maybe commitment and stubbornness, or go ahead full steam, lead by example, no feel. Like, man, if you talk about sobering and getting kicked in the shin, like I'm thinking I'm a leader, I'm supposed to be awesome, and they're like, yeah, this guy's passionate, enthusiastic, unbelievable at soft tissue, unbelievable at program design, exercise prescription, blah 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 blah. Sometimes doesn't do a good job of listening, doesn't ever hear me. I feel like he doesn't think or care about what I say. And it's like you get this, like, just wham, and you're like, oh. And the first time you do it, for me, it was painful because I wasn't calibrated, man. I thought I was doing all these great things, and everybody's like, oh, he's so passionate, he's so great, da 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 da. And I'm getting absolutely just squishing all of my people, just pushing everybody away, and had no idea. So boom, it's maybe the first year 17 times sucks at listening. Year number 2, 13 times sucks at listening. In year number 3, keeps whittling down, and now I'm a slow learner. Okay, what can I say? I'm sorry, Derin. I'm slow. 20 years later, I get really good reviews, and still to this day, I still get, man, he's his best when he's listening. I still get feedback from my. It's the biggest gift you can give somebody, of feedback about how are you doing, like how are you affecting people, and it's like, how do I occur to them? And now when I read it, it's like, and there's always been, hey man, this guy's been awesome for my life, this guy's changed my life. Like, there's always been that, right? Because I've always been caring and authentic, but I've just been a bull in a china shop. I've just been go 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 go. And now it's like, man, this guy is amazing, he's changed me as a dad. Like, stuff matters, and it's the single biggest gift that I've ever been able to give, and then the opportunity to give it has changed my life. Like, when people tell me they're a better dad because of me, like, that's how I want to be as a good dad. Like, to have people, like, have that type of reverence for me because of the things that I've learned and helped them with, and passed along, and they've been generous enough to give me that part of their life to work with. Like, man, I'm in. Sign me up. Like, that's awesome. And that's the single most thing, like, it's so easy, but it's so scary, and it's simple, but it hurts, and you get used to it. And man, there's nothing, like, I'm not the person that I am today without that document. And we actually came up with it because we had one employee that we needed to really help. And he actually ended up moving on after a couple of years. So, like, it's the thing. And I don't understand why it's so hard for people, because when people leave here, I'll tell them on the way out, like, hey, look, the number one thing you can do is don't open your mouth the first year. Just watch, just help, just serve. You know what I mean? Don't change anything your first year. Like, you gotta just figure it out, and you got to do those evals. And man, there's only a couple people that have done them, and all the people that we've been fortunate enough to put into the league in different places and different levels and all that. And there's only a couple people that are doing that, and that is the single biggest gift I've ever gotten from my teammates.
So on that, I know we're getting towards the end of this, but I just want to just ask you, how did you deal with that kick in the shin, as you described it? Like, how did you get through that? Because what happens is a lot of times in corporate, there's 30,000 companies that do the same thing that somebody else does, right? And so when I get tough feedback, it's like, well, I don't have to hear that. And so they just bow out. Whereas working, as you mentioned earlier, you're one of 30. And so sometimes it's like, I'm just going to wear this because I finally reached the mountaintop in this profession and I'll just take my medicine and right and just move on. Whereas in corporate, a lot of people just bail out because of the hard feedback. And so for me, what I've learned along the way is it's not necessarily the hard feedback, it's the skill to learn how to deal with the hard feedback, sort through it, figure out what you can change and what's authentic and what's real and those types of things. And so, what would you say, again, as we're kind of wrapping up here, what would you say to those individuals that you learned that you had to wrestle with when you got that really tough feedback that you just sucked at listening?
I think it boils down to really simple, man. It's like, what do you want to do? I want to get it right. I don't want to be right. I want to be part of something great, and I don't want to be part of something mediocre. I don't know what is wrong with me. I don't know where that clicked. I don't know, but I would rather be somebody that Ken and Dip and Scott and Ben can count on than not. And I don't know. I want to be part of something great, man, because they say you can go fast if you go with one, or if you can go far if you go with a team. And man, at the end of the day, like I want to have people around me that are absolute elite in what they do and they're savages with whatever their job is. Like, and I want to have that closeness, and I want to be part of that family. I want to be part of that community. And I want to make sure that I'm not I don't want to be the guy holding us back. And I'm also okay being the weakest link. I am the most unpolished link of all the the community that I get to hang out in, like, is a gift. People think I'm cool because I wear this Diamondback shirt, and I'll take it, right? But I'm just some regular kid that grew up just like everybody else, man, in a trailer in Summerfield, Florida. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I don't want to hold anybody back. And I don't mind being the not smartest guy in the room. Like, I just don't care. I want to be part of something cool, and I want to be better than I want to be right. I don't know. I get goosebumps when I talk. Like, I don't even know why. So just something. Maybe it's too much caffeine. It could be. I don't know.
I love you, man. So, hey, we're going to wrap it up here with our final question that we ask every guest. And I think people are going to listen to this and they're going to, I think they're going to know what you're going to say or pull out enough that they go, yeah, I get it. I get why this guy's been so successful. But we just want to kind of boil it down, right, in this final question. And again, it's the question we ask every guest here on the No Show Dogs podcast, because no show dogs mean like we don't talk about it. We are about it, right? It's like we don't care if we got to get dirty. We don't care the work we got to do. Like, we're just here to be world class, and that's it. And so, with that being said, just reflecting, man, on your career, what do you think are some of the things that maybe you've been willing to do that others haven't, that you've seen along the way, that has helped you have the success you've had up to this point?
That's an amazing question. And I think there's a couple things that really come to mind. I was going to go into high school, maybe in the seventh grade. I had a job, a summertime job. It was terrible. I worked at Bellevue Santos Elementary, and I had a little putty knife, and I had to chip the gum off of all of the seats at the school. And I got paid $3.33 an hour, and I chipped and chipped and chipped. I did that all summer long, and I was like part of it was work ethic because I was getting paid. I needed to buy school clothes, and I was going to buy school clothes for my $3.33 an hour, and I learned work ethic. I mean, but I learned that when I was growing up in New Hampshire. We lived. I mean, I bounced around a little bit, but we lived. We had to build a house. We had to cut wood for the summer. So I had work ethic, and I got that. And you can get that on a farm. You can get that in youth sports if you play it right. You can get it. So you got to have that. And I was thinking about the question, like, what? Because I don't feel like I'm special. I feel like I'm a regular dude that gets fired up easy. And I was talking, and that you sent that question over, and I was like, the thing that I'm willing to do that most, and look, without sounding like some kind of martyr or some kind of bragger or something like that, I I, I don't mind being wrong because I want to be part of something right, and I don't mind being vulnerable, man, because that's when you start. That's when you hit turbo. Is when you're wrong and you're vulnerable and you can trust people that you're with. You know what I mean? So I would say work ethic, my work ethic. I work my ass off a lot. I'm trustworthy, teamable, like I'm all of those things. And I don't, I'm going to be vulnerable, and, just if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't care. I want to be great. And I don't worry about looking bad. I try not to, like, I don't just go willy nilly, but my fear is to suck. Like, I don't want to do that. I would rather do everything else than that.
Nate, I know after this, people are going to want to find you. Like they're like, where's this Nate Shaw guy at? Like how can I find this guy? So, and I also know you're starting to do some work with some business professionals, business leaders as well, helping them with their physical health, which I think is amazing, man. I think the work you're doing now is really cool to take what you've learned in Major League Baseball through your incredible career and then transfer it over to business professionals and how they can get more fit. Because we know how physical health impacts mental health, how being physically fit impacts mental clarity. We know all those things, right? And so, look, I love what you're doing there. And I know people are going to want to find you. So where can people go to find you?
Well, I'm not a really good businessman. I'm kind of like Navy SEAL guy. I'm kind of like in the weeds. I kind of stay low key. During the season, man, I have a crazy job, and it's a lot. So, in the off season, I have, I don't know, a couple things that I really like. I really like the corporate space of late. And I have this website that it's www.coachnateshaw.com. How about that? What?
Go.
I have what they call Instagram thing. It's Instagram face pick? What is it? I'm just kidding. I have an Instagram. It's Coach Nate Shaw at Coach Nate Shaw or something like that. It's that it's not .com, right? The Instagram is at Nate Shaw, Coach Nate Shaw. So yeah, you can tell I'm not real big into social media, but it's a powerful thing, because when you do cool stuff with other people and you serve other people, it's cool to show other people that it's okay to take care of others and be a good team. So I'm trying to shake that anti-social media thing a little bit, and just do because this Diamondbacks thing, man, I get to do a lot of really cool stuff. We just did a shoes. We bought some shoes, and then we went to the Phoenix Children's and let the kids colored our shoes. And like, people need to hear about those things that we do. So way less about me and way more about the cool things that you can do when you I don't know, when you get everybody together and you get people going in a good direction.
Yeah, that's great. Nate, thank you so much, man. Just thank you so much for sharing your heart today, sharing your hard-earned wisdom. Loved it. And to our listeners, like, once you're done following Nate Shaw on Instagram at Coach Nate Shaw, or you're going to his website at coachnateshaw.com, I want to encourage you. You can follow No Show Dogs on Instagram as well at No Show Dogs, or obviously on LinkedIn as well. And here's what I'd say. If you don't want to miss an episode of No Show Dogs going forward, just be sure to subscribe, because we're going to continue bringing you this content from some of the best coaches, some of the best leaders, some of the best athletes in the world, and share just how their perspective, their approach, and their strategies have helped them dominate in their arena so you can dominate in yours. Now, go out and make it a great day. Thanks, Nate.